Well, it's Friday, and this is a very interesting episode because we're going to be doing 5 reviews from 4 different promotions. The first one is going to be the latest New Blood show by Stardom. We have some interesting newcomers that made their appearance. We even have a brand new Stardom trainee named Yuzu, Yuzuki who takes on Momo Watanabe, and of course, the future belt is on the line. And of course, we move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling with New Japan Road that features 2 title matches and a semi main event and the main event. For the semi main event, it features the never open weight 6-man tag team titles. Tanahashi, Ishii, and Okada defends it against Narita, Hamna, and Taguchi. But the main event features the KOPW title on the line in a very corrupt stipulation by Show as he takes on the person he took the belt from, Tai Chi. However, the obvious thing is, can Tai Chi get back his belt, or once again with the corruption and rule breaking by House of Torture will be the deciding factor? We'll find out. And then, of course, we're going to find out who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up. And of course, we have AEW. As you know, we're heading straight to Full Gear. So we're going to be doing Collision and Rampage. So we're going to see what happens before we get to Full Gear. And then we have some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, any wrestlers that either been signed or departing from their promotions, injured wrestlers, the whole enchilada. So let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about the wrestlers, the titles, promotions, whatever we want to talk about. And if there's some news updates that I'm unable to put on this episode, I'll put it by itself to tell what's been going on and other good stuff here on this channel. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool stuff on this particular channel. But if you also like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or leave us a nice comment down below. Now let's begin with our very first review. This is from Stardom's New Blood show, West. Yes, West is one of those. They're kind of dividing the East and West type of thing. I don't know why, but however, our first match we have Momo Watanabe going out against a brand new trainee who has just recently came out of the Stardom dojo named Yuzuki. So I don't know much about her, but she is a very young girl. Now, it's no secret if you're a big Stardom fan, you should know that Momo has been one of those wrestlers that actually participate in debut matches from other Yoshi wrestlers that come out of the dojo. So, of course, in this particular match, you're going to see a bit of the aggressiveness with Momo. However, Yuzuki did a pretty good job for a first timer, but however, it was of course a roundhouse kick to the head. that Momo finished off the match. She gave a very promo. I'm going to assume that she's sending her that that she's not cut it. You know how Momo's arrogance is, but we'll see what happened. Now, our next match, we have Mai Sakurai taking on Saya Ida. A very interesting pair. Now, keep in mind, these two are champions in their own titles. I mean, Mai Sakurai is 1/3 of the Artists Champions with Julian Tekla, while Saya Ida is 1/2 of the New Blood Tag Team Champions with Hanan. So I don't know if any of these has any implications. Well, with the New Blood, but however, with the Artist belts, that could. However, Saya Ida threw in a lot of power into this match, but it was, of course, Saya Ida with an amazing pinfall that put Mai Sakurai away. You probably would think Mai Sakurai should not have lost, but she did. Now, our next match, we have Yuna Mizumori taking on Zuzu Suzuki. Now, I'm sure Zuzu will definitely use this match as a way to send a direct message to Tam Nakano. As you know, Tam Nakano has been radio silenced since October when she hurt her knee. And of course, Zuzu has not been happy with the fact that her match with Tam has been canceled. And I'm sure Yuna Mizumori will do whatever it takes to defend Tam's honor due to the fact of Zuzu's insolence. However, we all know how Zuzu's a bit of aggressiveness and all this other stuff. But it was the tequila shot that made the deal for Zuzu to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have Zones coming all the way from Evolution, making her New Blood debut, taking on Ami Suri. I have to say this was a pretty good match because knowing Zone since the Evolution has been very established, Zone has been a very powerhouse wrestler. So is Ami Suri. But however, which one of them was going to walk out the victory? Well, it was Ami Suri with the Blue Thunder Bomb that made the deal. However, Zones was not happy with the loss, but she actually took a bite out of Ami Suri's hand. So yeah, so that's how it goes from there. Our next match, we have our current high-speed champion, May Seda, taking on 1/2 of the New Blood Tag Champions, Hana. I have to say, this was a pretty good match. Not because I say so, it's because A, we know May Seda has a championship match the following day because she defends the her title against Momoka Hanazono. And of course, Hanan, well, we know that she is still, many people have seen how much she's evolved. So we'll see how those two, but it was an incredible match. You probably would have thought somebody had to walk away with the win, but nope. It was, in fact, Hanan. No, nope. This match ended in a 15-minute time limit draw. I don't know if that was the right move, but it did ended up. I have to say it was a pretty good match. Anyway, our next match we have, of course, is May Seda's opponent for the high speed belt, Momoka Nozono, taking on Lady C. Now, I've always said Momoka is a freaking terror in the ring. Not because, oh, she's aggressive. No, she does unorthodox methods to drive her opponents crazy. I mean, pull up some tricks, even for someone her size. Now, I know for a fact that Momoka has challenged for this belt before, but she only challenged the belt and if anybody is in her territory, which is Osaka, Japan. That's always been what Momoka does all the time. So but however, facing against Lady C, that's a different story. Basically, Lady C is a big, tall girl. Now, how will Momoka will go through that? Well, she has to use her high speed in her advantage for that. But one thing was incredible is when she countered Lady C's choke slam and then put her in a kind of a roll up pin on her. 1, 2, 3, it was done. I think Lady C did not expect that from her. But you got to ask yourself, how would this be enough for Momoka to win the belt? Well, we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next match, we have also another recipient from the Evolution brand, Chi Chi taking on Miyu Amasaki. This is a very interesting match. Now, Chi Chi, as you know, has been one of those prospect wrestlers that we have witnessed before. Now, if you guys remember, one of her biggest wins that she ever done was that one show from last month that was produced by Tsurumi Natsu. That was her biggest win. But however, she's facing a wrestler who already has a bit more experience than her, maybe a year or two at most. But I thought it was a pretty good match. But it was Amasaki with the 10 side to pick up the win. However, Chi Chi was not happy with the lot with how this match ended. They continued the brawl outside the ring. So sooner or later they will cross paths in the future, but we'll see what happens. Now, our main event, we have Hanako facing off the current future of Stardom champion Rina. Now, this is the only title match that was set for this particular day. So the obvious thing is this: Rina knows for a fact she's facing against a much stronger but taller wrestler. However, I think this is a good match where, of course, her judo skills actually come into play. Now, if you guys remember, her and her sisters, they're both judo experts. They use many of their judo trademark skills into the wrestling craft, and I think that sets it all. Now, as much as I like to say Hanako is a big, strong girl, um, you cannot outmatch this Rina, who, of course, who is trying to show that she is the future of Stardom, and all this and that. And of course, her skills in the ring. But it was a submission that put Hanako away for her to retain her title to make this her fourth victory. So it was a pretty good match. I'm not gonna lie. So nobody has challenged her at all at the end of this match, but I have to say it probably will be a good thing for a little while. So we'll see what happens in the future. Who will be her next challenger? So right now we end things here with Stardom's New Blood. We move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Alrighty then. New Japan Pro Wrestling with New Japan Road. This is just a recent show they just did. Now, it opened up with the arrival, of course, of Taguchi, Tomoaki Hamna, and Ren Narita making their presence known. Now, originally, they were supposed to face against the current Never Openweight six-man tag team champions, Ishii, Tanahashi, and Okada in a non-title match. However, they came out to plead their case to make their match against them for the titles. Now, of course, someone had to come out and give their word. Tanahashi, being an honorable person that he's always been, comes out to give his word. Said, okay, if that's what you guys want, we'll give it to you. So that match became our semi-main event. So we'll get to that in a bit. Now, our opening match, we have, of course, first we have a six-man tag match. First up, we have the Young Lions, Bolton Oleg, Oscar Lube, and of course, Yuto Nakajima. They take on the veterans, Togi Makabe, Satoshi Kojima, and Hiroshi Tenzan. So you probably would have assumed that the veterans had the upper hand. Now, normally when it comes to seeing the Young Lions facing veterans, normally they would put in their place by using a Boston Crab, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case because it was Satoshi Kojima with a lariat onto Yuto Nakashima that picked up the win. So, I mean, they did a pretty good job, but you cannot beat the lariat. Next up, we have Bullet Club consistent of Geto and Taiji Shimori taking on Master Wato and Yano. Now, I have to say this is one of the most funniest and clever matches I've ever seen coming from Yano. Now, if you guys know where I'm referring to, let me explain. Yano has a way to playing tricks on people for the right reasons because he would do whatever it takes to win, but in a way where it fits him. I mean, he is a bit of a jokester in some capacity. However, there was a moment when the ref wasn't looking, Geto tried to low blow him, but Yano was able to catch his hand, turned around, and then of course he put his hand back underneath his crotch, and then he goes, ah! Referee saw what happened, and ding, 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 it was over. Yano and Master Wato won by disqualification. Now, you know for a fact, Geto and Taiji Shimura know for a fact I mean, yes, they would have done that, but they would do it without being caught. So Yano played the much clever moments, putting Ghetto on the spot, caught red-handed with his hand in the cookie jar. I have to say, clever. I have to say, cleverest match ever. Now, our next match, we have the United Empire consistent of Calvin Newman, Henare, and Great Khan. They take on the members of KAOZ, Yoshihashi, and thank God he's back, Hiroki Goto. We haven't seen him for a while since he injured himself during the G1. I'm glad he's back because I think many people were questioning, okay, will he be okay by the time we get to World Tag League? And of course, whoever will be their next challengers. That is the biggest thing that we were expecting. I have to say it was a pretty good match. Now, I know Hinara and Great Khan would have loved to do whatever it takes to pin either Goto or Yoshihashi for a chance of the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. However, that wasn't the case. It was Calvin Newman who ended up on the wrong side of Shoto and then pinned by Goto, making his return. I have to say, KAOZ did a pretty good job with, of course, Goto coming back after being sidelined for a while. Next up, we got Shota Umino teaming with Tiger Mask, Minoru Suzuki, and of course, Yuji Nagata. Now remember, Nagata and Suzuki will be teaming together at World Tag League. That's going to be an interesting pairing. They face against members of LIJ consisting of Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, um, Yoda Suji, and of course Shingo Tagagi. Now, of course, there's a lot of factors in this type of match. Don't forget, Shota Umino and Yoda Suji were in the same class together. That was very interesting to see those guys, but that kind of played out pretty well. But however, as you know, Shota Umino picked up a very huge one when he applied the Blaze Blade onto Bushi to pick up a win. It was a pretty good dynamic match, so I have to say it was a lot of fun. Now, our next match, ahead before the main event, we have the members of House of Torture, more specifically the spoiler Dick Togo, the traitor Kanemaru, Yujiro Takahashi, and Evil. They take on the other members of Just Five Guys, more specifically Taka Michinoku, Doiki, Yuya Uemura, and Sonata. Now, you know for a fact, across from Sonata, you probably would think that Evil is not happy with the result, that he should have beaten Sonata for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. But nope, it did not, thanks to the sudden arrival of Yuya Uemura that gave him the helping hand. But of course, like any other type of match with the House of Torture, they would try to cheat their way through like any other way they possibly. However, it was Kanemaru who was able to pick up the win by making a very strong pinfall onto Taka Michinoku, giving, of course, the House of Torture the win. However, will this match be enough to bring momentum into the House of Torture to ensure that Show retain the title, since they are determined to make this match in their favor? We'll get to that. Now, our next match is the semi-main event. We have the never open-weight six-man tag team titles on the line. We have the challengers, Ryusuke Taguchi, Tomoaki Hamna, and Ren Narita. They take on Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Kazuchika Okada. So this is a very good match, but however, I feel like I don't know if this was the right moment where, of course, they could have had a title match for this one, but nonetheless, it was, of course, an inside cradle by Tanahashi into Narita to pick up the win. Narita was not a happy camper that he was the one who got the pinfall, but we'll see what happens from here on out. Now, our next match, we have the KOPW title. And of course, the referee is none other than the traitor of Just Five Guys, Kanemaru. But of course, there's some stipulations that were set from both men to ensure like certain moves that they're not allowed. But of course, when it comes to the House of Torture, they would do whatever it takes to ensure this match goes in their favor. So you probably would have assumed that this is how they were going to play out. However, there was Taichi managed to hold on his own. Not to mention, there was a couple of misfires by House of Torture. I mean, there was powder up to Show. Show accidentally wrenched Kanemaru. that sort of thing. And of course, Evil and Dick Togo tried to ensure this match wins per show, but nothing stopped Taichi. And then, of course, in the end, thank God that Red Shoe showed up. It was Taichi with a strong power bomb onto show to finally recapture the KOPW title. I thought it was a really interesting moment. Right now, I'm sure the House of Torture are livid knowing that they lost this belt. But however, this is a great pride and joy in knowing that this is a huge victory for just five guys, knowing that they have two belts now in their banner. So that's going to be interesting. Now we haven't determined yet if there'll be any new challengers, but however, we just enjoy the moment. We did see the members of just five guys give high five to the fans, and I thought it was a great moment to end the show. So I have to say it was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it. So I think that's pretty much it right now with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Let's move on with NXT Level Up. Okay, so who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up? Let's find out. Our first match, we have Danny Palmer versus Tatum Paxley. Now, this particular match was months in the making. Reason behind that, let's go back a few months ago. Tatum Paxley and Danny Palmer were in a tag match. Now, we still had some unanswered questions towards what happened. During this tag match, Danny Palmer was attempting to tag in Tatum Paxley and she walked out, saying that she will pay for what she's done. Now, of course, Danny Palmer had no clue what she was talking about. Even to this day, nobody seems to know what goes on in the mindset of Tatum Paxley, even though, of course, the commentators are like saying, maybe you should go to ask her. No, you ask her, that sort of thing. But of course, Danny Palmer with her gymnastics and daredeviling style could have been enough to get her revenge on Tatum Paxley for what happened. But however, Paxley tried to take out her knee in order to put her away. But it was Tatum Paxley with the psycho driver that put her away and giving herself the win. So the obvious question is this thing between those two over, or it's just the beginning? Well, we'll just wait and see what happens till then. Now, before our next match, which is involving this interview, Kelly Kincaid interviews Tavon Heights, where he faces against Riley Osborne. Now, we have seen Riley Osborne, what an incredible wrestler he is, a high flyer. But you look at Tavon Heights, as you know, he's well aware that he's facing a guy who goes up, 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 but at some point you need to put him down. So Tavon Heights made that perfectly clear in his interview. But in the match, you probably would have assumed that's exactly what Tavon Heights would have done. Try to find a way to keep Riley Osborne in the ground. I mean, that's something, of course, we know that Damon Kemp, Charlie Dempsey, Drew Gulak, and Miles Bourne would have done as well if they were facing people like that. But Tavon Heights knew exactly that he had to keep Riley Osborne grounded. But that wasn't enough. So he tried every submission move to put him away, but Riley only needed one shot in order to pick up the win. And what he pulled off was, of course, once again, the shooting star press. 1, 2, 3. Adios. It's over. He picked up a good win. Now we know that Riley Osborne is one of those wrestlers that would definitely bear and pay attention. So we'll see what happens in the future for him. So I think that's pretty much it right now with NXT Level Up. Let's move on with AEW Collision. All right, AEW Collision. This is much of the go home show, well, part one of the go home show before Full Gear. It opened up with an interview with Tony Schiavone in the ring with Christian Cage. Now, we often ask ourselves, why did Christian Cage has been acting total dick around Adam Copeland? Like, why wouldn't he want to give their tag team run one last shot? Well, of course, Christian Cage thinks that Adam Copeland is out to steal his thunder. So he made it perfect clear that he's going to make him wish he never signed a contract with AEW. However, he is going to pay attention into a 4-win match for a number one contendership for his title. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, in the back with Lexi Near, Lexi interviews the current AEW World Tag Team Champions, uh, Ricky Starks and Big Bill. However, as you know, there are three teams are gunning for them, and it was official by Tony Khan a week ago that there will be a four-way match for the AEW Tag Team titles, with the champions Big Bill, and Starks defending the belts against the Kings of the Black Throne, Malachi Black and Brody King versus LFI, Dralístico, and Rush versus FTR. However, this was the last thing these guys wanted. However, Ricky Starks decided, let's add a little stipulation if they believe that this could be in their favor. So they decided to put a ladder match. Now, you got to remember, this they could lose the belts regardless of how things is in this point. I mean, I don't know if that's the right call, but we'll see where that leads us. Now, our next match, we do have Miro taking on Daniel Garcia. Now, this particular match was set upon it because Daniel Garcia decided to do his little dance right in front of his wife, CJ Perry. So he may not like what he saw, but of course, you know that Daniel Garcia would have done everything in his power to bring him down. I mean, it was a pretty good match. However, somebody decided to cost him that match, and that is Menard. So he was about to do his little dance. So I like to call him Dumbass Menard. Got in the way. But however, Miro got his little victory with the camel clutch. I thought that was very interesting to see. However, speaking of Miro, as you know, his wife, who is now the new manager for Andrade, had a little interesting interview that was spilled with Lex Lanier. It turns out that CJ made a very impeccable argument to put Andrade in the Continental Classic, which of course Andrade was like a bit shocked. But however, CJ knows that this is a much important thing for him. So he asked, is this for real? You really made this for me? So basically, it's like you didn't expect this from her. But he's saying that he's trusting her judgment on what they're going to do right here. And I think that's a very important because we know CJ wants to ensure Andrade, who is a third generation wrestler, very talented, been there, done that sort of deal, deserves to have something like this. So we'll see where that goes. Now it turns out he is officially in the tournament. Now, our next match, we have the Kings of the Black Throne, Malachi Black and Brody King taking on the boys, Brandon and Brandon. Well, I can tell you that the boys just became crybabies by getting Dante's Inferno by Brody King onto Brent, and that ended right there. Now, our next match is, of course, a number one contendership four-way match for the TNT title. We have Trent Beretta versus Brian Cage versus Commander versus Penta. Now, interesting factors of this match. Commander and Penta are good friends and they have been tag partners. However, they're not afraid to throw down at each other because they know, oh, look, the stakes are higher. This is a golden opportunity for a shot of the TNT title, and they know it all too well. So, of course, there'll be some tag team cohesive somewhere, but they have to deal with Brian Cage, who's a strong wrestler. But it was, of course, Trent with the strong zero onto a Commander. It was over right from there. So he faces Christian Cage for his title at Rampage. Now, our next interview, of course, we did saw what happened in Dynamite, where Paul White was hurt, got slammed thanks to Powerhouse Hobbs. Now, Don Callis and Powerhouse Hobbs made it clear that he is not coming back. Well, don't say never, never, just like that. So that kind of goes out. Our next match, we have Vorlo taking on Evan Daniels. This match lasted for less than a minute, but as soon as the power bomb was established and then ref's decision, it was over. Now, before our next match starts, we did see the current AEW World Tag Team Champions, Ricky Starks and Big Bill, make their way to the ring because the next match features Dax Harwood versus Rush. Now, this match was hard-hitting, very classic match. However, when it comes to Rush, You know Rush doesn't play by anybody's rules. He doesn't give a damn what people think. He doesn't care what Ricky Starks thinks. But however, he got in the face of Ricky Starks, shove him. However, Nigel McGuinness was trying to tell Ricky, control your composure because he knows you're playing into Rush's hands. Now, you can say that Ricky is very good at manipulating people or playing mind games, but Rush, he's the kind of guy who I know personally who doesn't play games. But he also trying to show him nothing, nada pasa, which translates to nothing happens. So, however, the match ended in no contest, of course, when both Bill and Starks attacked both competitors, and left and right, we've been seeing, of course, um, Wheeler comes out, then the rest of LFI show up. Then, of course, the Kings of the Black Throne. So it became a melee from all sides of the spectrum. So we're gonna see what happens in Full Gear. But the obvious question is this will be enough for Starks and Big Bill to hold on? They're confident they think they're gonna walk out as champions. But you got to remember, you got FTR, who are the best tag team champions. You got LFI, one of the most dangerous factions ever. You got, of course, another dangerous group, the Kings of the Black Throne. So we'll see what happens until then. Um, excuse me for a minute. Now, our next interview, we do see Action Andretti giving a medical update towards what happened to Darius Martin, but of course, Roderick Strong decided to make him his next victim and all this other stuff. Our next match, we have representing the House of Black, uh, Buddy Matthews versus Wheeler Yuta. You probably would have assumed this was going to be a hard hitting match. Well, of course. Now, we know these two can bring the violence out. However, in the end, it was Buddy Matthews with a stomp to pick up the win. However, a stomp was only enough to put down Wheeler Yuta, but he was going to put him out of his misery when he went down to get the chair. But luckily, Claudio Castagnoli showed up. So he tells him, let's have a match at Full Gear, unless you want to ask Malachi Black for permission. Of course, he did not like that. So, of course, Buddy Matthews says, let's do it. So he's okay with the idea. Now, our next match, of course, which is our main event, features the Outcast, Ruby Soho, and Saraya taking on our current champions, the TBS champion Chris Statlander, teaming with the current AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida. This is a very interesting matchup. Now, keep in mind, both these ladies will put their belts on the line at Full Gear. Shida will be facing Toni Storm, while Statlander faces in a three-way match between Sky Blue and Julia Hart. However, you probably would have seen a pretty interesting team up. But however, we did see Parker showed up, and of course things got out of hand. And then Saraya was the one who suffered in the hands of Hikaru Shida's katana to pick up the win. Now, before the collision ended, Tony Schiavone, of course, had an interview with MJF, who he knows that he has a lot on his plate, not to mention wrestling twice in one night. He has the ROH World Tag Team titles, which he's willing to defend it all by himself. But the one thing that matters to him the most is the AEW title that was taken from him by Jay White, claiming himself that he is the real world champion. But we'll see what happens until then. I think that's pretty much it right now with Collision. Let's move on with our last and final review, AEW Rampage. Okay, as we continue with more AEW, we got Rampage. Now, Jericho makes his way to the commentary table. Apparently, there was a bit of confusion with Jericho. He had no clue. As you know, the ring on the commentary desk is normally at the ramp side, at the stage side. However, it was right in front of the ring. So basically, he made it through. So he got the confusion strained out. Now, our first match is the TNT title. Trent Beretta faces against Christian Cage. Of course, in this match, when it comes to Christian Cage, he has his little lackeys, Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne, to get involved, which, of course, it was going to happen one way or the other. But in the end, it was Christian Cage with this kill switch onto Trent Beretta to retain the title. But however, Christian Cage's this primary mission is to make Adam Copeland regret from ever signing with AEW, but also to ensure that he ends the career of Sting way early instead of Sting's, go off to the sunset on his own terms. Now, speaking of Chris Jericho, as you know, Jericho and Kenny Omega will be facing against the Young Bucks. Now, there's a stipulation that both sides put in. However, if Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho win, the Bucks will have to put their number one contendership for the tag titles on the line, which they gladly accepted. However, the Bucks also said if they win, Jericho and Kenny Omega will never team up ever again. But however, Jericho had a strong message toward the Bucks, and I'm sure the Bucks heard that loud and clear. Our next match is a bit of a tune-up match, but it's no coincidence about this one. We have Toni Storm facing off Emi Sakura. Now, you probably say there is no coincidence about this match. Let me explain to you why. In this particular match, as you know, Toni Storm will be facing Hikaru Shida for the AEW World Women's title. However, she decides to face against Hikaru Shida's mentor, Emi Sakura, which is, of course, a good way of trying to ensure she can stay on her toes. But however, it was Toni Storm with the Storm Zero that put her away, ensure to get this match as momentum till she gets to Full Gear. Now, our next interview we do see is Jay Lethal along with the Dickwads getting face to face with Eddie Kingston. Now, I thought this match between Kingston and Jay Lethal for the ROH World title was going to happen in Final Battle. No, but it's going to happen in Full Gear. However, Eddie Kingston calls Jay Lethal a coward because he's hanging out with guys with like Jeff Jarrett. So basically, he is confident enough to believe that Eddie Kingston will lose his belt in Full Gear. But of course, the problem is with Kingston, he doesn't appreciate the fact that Jay Lethal, who says that he's all about honor, has become a coward. So that's what he probably sees. Even though Jay Lethal can say he's full of honor, but that's not true. But however, as soon as the Dickwads left, all of a sudden we see Ortiz there. I don't know what is going on. We know they had a falling out before, but we'll see what happens at Full Gear. Now, our next match, we have Action Andretti taking on Roderick Strong. Well, this match ended, as you know, with Roderick Strong applying the heartache just like that. However, our last thing we see is a much interesting storyline I've ever witnessed. Now, Renee Paquette has talked to Jay White. Now, Jay White has often said, it's like, come on, we all know MJF is lying. He's the devil behind the mask. Look, it's no secret that he had that mask before, but MJF is never lied about his intentions about what he does. However, he is confident enough that he is going to walk out, but MJF attacks him, beat the crap out of him, and of course, Juice Robinson tried to help, but apparently Juice Robinson got slammed through the TV. MJF chases, of course, Jay White into the ring, but all of a sudden the Ass Boys show up and turn it into a 3-on-1. MJF was able to hold on his own long as possible until Samoa Joe shows up, and all of a sudden, this is the most shocking development. MJF accepted Samoa Joe's offer. This puts the Ass Boys in concern, thinking there was no way this is going to happen. But, however, of course, MJF may have no other choice but to honor the deal for another shot of the AEW World title. But we'll see what happens till then. So, I'm excited. I'm sure everybody's excited. So I think that's pretty much it with all of our reviews, what we have done. It's time to move on with our final thing, news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. So let's get started. Ice Ribbon had put out some interesting news. Now, if you guys remember last year, we did have Stardom made their appearance at the Tokyo Comic Con. Well, Ice Ribbon has announced that they will participate there too between the 8th and 10th of December. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know how the Comic Con is in Japan. I mean, I wish I could make a trip to check it out, but I can't. I don't have the money for that. But hopefully one day I'll get to see it. Now, interesting developments. As you know, we haven't seen Mandy Rose making an appearance in a wrestling show. However, she announces on her social media, more specifically, either Threads or Instagram, where she will be making her appearance at WrestleCade on the 25th of November. So this is going to be interesting seeing her outside. I know many people are saying, will she ever be signed with any promotion now that WWE fired her? Well, we know that Tony Me Dreamer said that Impact would be interested in signing her. But however, AEW, that's a different conversation. Hopefully, if that's what they want, we'll see. But we'll find out more than enough. Now, of course, one of the topics of discussion in the Yoshi world is Giulia. As you know, there's been a lot of interest coming from WWE to recruit her. Now, they formally extended its offer to her from Stardom. Now, keep in mind, they wanted to show up at a tryout or something at the Performance Center, but however, they have to do that with the permission of Stardom. So we haven't heard if she will be accepting their offer to go because her contract with the company will end by 2024 at some point in the spring. So we'll see where that leads us. Now, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this promotion called Limitless, but this is I've seen 2 or 3 other shows in the past. Pretty good shows, not gonna lie. They did mention that for a long time they've been trying to get Ortiz. They said they tried 3 times already to get him to be there, but he gladly accepted. And this is gonna happen uh, in December on the 16th. So this promotion, if you guys want to know where it's from, it's from the state of Maine. So yes, so it's in the East Coast. Now, as you know, TNA Wrestling is coming back starting next year in January of 2024. They will be doing some shows back in Orlando. If you guys remember clearly, back in the day, TNA did their shows in Orlando. It's great that they're going to do that. So tickets will be on sale this coming Saturday, from my understanding. If you guys are from the general vicinity of Orlando and you guys are big fans of TNA, so you should get your tickets right now. Now, I did mention about this before during a Noah wrestling show. Shuji Kondo pinned Daga, who is the current GHC Junior Heavyweight Champion. However, I did mention that he could cash in an opportunity. Well, it looks like it's gonna happen. So Shuji Kondo will face Daga for the GHC Junior Heavyweight title at the upcoming event, Star Navigation. That's gonna happen later on. I kind of figured this was gonna happen, but it is what it is. Hold on a second. My notes are tangled up. Now, some interesting developments for GCW. Of course, we have the Highest in the Room 2 that takes place on the 9th of December. The GCW Tag Team titles will defend it. The newly crowned Tag Champions, Violence is Forever, will defend the titles against Masha Slamovich and Rina Yamashita. However, another match has been announced. We have, of course, Andrade El Idolo versus Joey Janela. I have to say, that's going to be a banger of a match. But also, they announced for Big Effin' Joe will participate in this particular event. Now, as you know, at December 31st by GCW for the Nick Gage Invitational 8, they announced that Jimmy Lloyd is the 6th participant in the tournament. So I'm so glad to hear about that. So yes. Now, our last final update is the promotion KAOZ. As you know, they've been adding members for the roster of 2024. So this is who they have so far. Now, if these talents you guys aren't familiar with, well, this is the first time you hear them. We have Oro Negro, the Panther Jr., and Vasco Jr. However, if you guys are from the San Diego area or in the SoCal area, more closely to Mexico, or in Tijuana, they announced talent who are from Tijuana. We have Destiny, Noisy Boy, Bandito, Black Danger, Bestia 66, Anubis, Rey Horus, Gallo, Extremo, and Toto. So this is the roster that they added so far for the 2024 roster in KAOZ Lucha Libre. So I'm kind of curious how this is going to go. And I think that's pretty much what we have for now. So I think right now we should just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. It's been a while since I did 5 reviews from 4 different promotions. Now, this entire weekend's going to be chaotic. Now, the reason, as you know, for our next episode, I'm definitely going to be reviewing Full Gear, which is, of course, AEW's much recent event in LA. If you probably ask me, how come I'm not going to LA for the AEW show if I'm from San Diego? Truth to be told, I'm unable to do that because I would have gone if my brother would have gone, but however, he can't due to some other circumstances. But I'll be able to watch it from here in the comfort of my own home. So that's going to be a top priority. Stardom just recently did their latest pay-per-view, Gold Rush. It features, of course, the white belt defended, and of course the Moneyball whatever thing. There are some events that I haven't seen yet, coming from All Japan, DDT. There's the recent West Coast Pro. So there's a lot of things right now. So I haven't decided yet how I'm gonna go, but I am making Gold Rush and Full Gear a top priority for everyone right now. I haven't decided how I'm gonna proceed it further after that, but we'll see what happens. Now, if there's any news updates regarding what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling before then, I will do that before that as well. So we'll see how the day turns out. But as for now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.